I picture a galaxy torn apart by war, a conflict so vast and chaotic that even the soldiers themselves can't tell a friend from foe. This is the backdrop of the Clone Wars, an epic conflict that spanned across countless star systems, with millions of clone soldiers deployed in a ceaseless battle against the forces of the Separatists. To understand the scale of this conflict, one must first grasp the scope of the clone armies. These soldiers were not born, but created, each one a perfect replica of the infamous bounty hunter, Jango Fett. Purpose-built for war, they were the backbone of the Galactic Republic's military might, countless identical faces beneath the visors of their armor, all with one singular purpose: to fight and, if necessary, to die for the Republic. However, the sheer scale of these clone armies presented a unique challenge. In the heat of battle, with blaster fire crisscrossing the battlefield, it became all too easy for the clones to lose track of who was who. After all, every soldier looked identical, sounded identical. In the chaos and confusion of war, how could they possibly distinguish friend from foe? This confusion was not merely a theoretical problem. There were instances lost in the annals of the war where clones found themselves firing upon their own comrades. Tragic accidents born out of the chaos of war, these friendly fire incidents were a grim testament to the dangers of such a vast and impersonal conflict. But these were more than just accidents. They were symptomatic of a larger issue, a fundamental flaw in the strategy of the Republic. By relying on a vast, faceless army of clones, the Republic had dehumanized the very soldiers it sent into battle. In doing so, it had created a situation where those soldiers could not even recognize their own comrades in the heat of combat. In the heat of battle, with blaster fire lighting up the darkness of space, even the highly trained clones could find themselves firing upon their own. The Battle of Coruscant, a turning point in the Clone Wars, but also a stage for one of the most tragic instances of friendly fire. The Battle of Coruscant was a monumental conflict, the epicenter of a war that had spread across the galaxy. It was a complex chess game with strategies and counter-strategies playing out across the sprawling metropolis planet. The Republic and Separatist forces clashed in a cataclysmic showdown, with starships, droids, and clone troopers all caught in the maelstrom. As the battle raged on, the line between friend and foe began to blur. The clone troopers, the backbone of the Republic's military, were not exempt from the confusion. These soldiers, identical in appearance and trained to follow orders without question, found themselves in a situation where the standard protocols failed. The chaos of the battle was all-consuming. Starships fell from the sky, their flaming wreckage lighting up the night. Explosions echoed through the cityscape, shaking the very foundations of Coruscant. Amidst this, communication lines were disrupted, leaving units cut off from command. In the fog of war, accurate identification became a challenge. The clone troopers, all wearing identical armor, struggled to distinguish friend from foe. Without clear directives and in the heat of combat, mistakes were made. Clones, believing they were firing upon the enemy, turned their weapons on each other. These instances of friendly fire were not isolated incidents, but a tragic consequence of the chaos. The confusion, the fear, the urgency of the moment, all these factors converged to create a scenario where brothers in arms became inadvertent enemies. But beyond the tragedy, these instances served as a stark reminder of the clone troopers' humanity. Despite their identical appearances and programming, each clone was an individual capable of fear, confusion, and mistakes. They were not just soldiers, they were people thrown into a war of unimaginable scale and complexity. In the smoke and chaos, identities blurred, and brothers in arms became inadvertent enemies. When the dust settled, the grim reality dawned. Clones had fought clones, brothers had fought brothers. In the eerie silence that followed the tumultuous Battle of Coruscant, the clones were left with a haunting aftermath. For the first time, they faced an enemy they hadn't been programmed to fight themselves. In the chaos of battle, lines of friend and foe had blurred, leading to a tragic case of mistaken identity. The realization that they had been fighting each other was a bitter pill to swallow. The troopers, bred for battle and trained to be the perfect soldiers, found themselves grappling with emotions they were never supposed to experience. The guilt of having fought their own brothers, the grief of losing them, and the confusion of how such a calamity could have occurred took a heavy toll. They were soldiers, yes, but they were also humans, capable of feeling the sting of regret and the weight of sorrow. The sense of unity that had once bound the clones together began to unravel. Trust, that essential cornerstone of any army, was fractured. The incident sowed seeds of doubt within the ranks. Could they trust their commanders, their brothers themselves? The morale of the clone armies, usually unwavering, wavered. This was not just another battle lost. This was a loss of faith in their very identity. The incident had far-reaching implications. It forced the clones and their commanders to question the strategies and tactics used in the war. It made them question the ethics of creating an army of identical men, bred for war, but not equipped to deal with the moral complexities it entails. The clones were left questioning their roles, their purpose, and their place in the grand scheme of the galaxy. The echoes of the friendly fire incident at Coruscant would haunt the clone armies for the rest of the war. A somber reminder of the day when they turned their weapons against their own, a tragic misstep in the chaos of war, and a lesson they would carry into every battle henceforth. In war, every tragedy is a lesson. The friendly fire incident was a wake-up call for the clone armies. In the haze of battle, mistakes happen. But when those mistakes involve the lives of your own comrades, the repercussions are felt far beyond the battlefield. The tragic incident of the clone armies mistakenly engaging each other was an eye-opener to the harsh realities and the chaos of warfare. It was a catalyst for change, a push to reassess strategies, to rethink tactics, and to strengthen lines of communication. After the shocking episode, the clone armies realized the need for clear and distinct identification. No longer could they rely on just visual cues in the heat of battle. They needed something foolproof, something that would immediately differentiate friend from foe. So they enhanced their communication systems and introduced new identification protocols. These changes made it much harder for such a mistake to happen again. In addition, tactics were refined. The clone armies started to focus more on coordinated attacks rather than just brute force. They began to understand the importance of precision, of knowing exactly where their comrades were and what they were doing. This shift in tactics not only helped prevent friendly fire incidents, but also made their operations more efficient. The lessons learned from the incident were invaluable. They helped the clone armies adapt and evolve to become a more formidable force. Each battle following the incident saw the implementation of these lessons, making the clone armies stronger, more unified. But perhaps the most significant lesson was the realization of the cost of war. The incident served as a stark reminder that every decision, every command, every move in war has consequences. It emphasized the importance of clarity amidst chaos, of understanding that in war every life matters, every soldier counts. The incident served as a stark reminder of the cost of war and the importance of clarity amidst chaos. The Clone Wars were a time of chaos and confusion, a time when even the closest of allies could become enemies in the blink of an eye. The Battle of Coruscant was a turning point in the Clone Wars, a battle that saw the clone armies inadvertently pitted against each other due to a series of unfortunate misunderstandings and miscommunications. The galaxy watched in horror as brothers in arms turned on each other, their laser blasters lighting up the night sky over the capital planet. This unfortunate incident served as a stark reminder of the perils of war, the confusion that can arise, and the tragic consequences when communication breaks down. The clones, bred for unity and cooperation, were suddenly thrust into a situation where they couldn't distinguish friend from foe. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. Trust was eroded, morale plummeted, and the war effort was significantly hampered. In the aftermath of the incident, the clone armies were forced to rethink their strategies, their communication protocols, and their reliance on technology. The incident resulted in significant changes in the way the clones conducted their operations. More emphasis was placed on personal identification, on-ground communication, and the development of fail-safe communication systems. The incident had a profound impact on the clone army's overall performance in the war. It served as a wake-up call, highlighting the need for robust systems and protocols to prevent such a disaster from happening again. It was a hard lesson learned in the harshest of circumstances, but a necessary one, that shaped the future of the clone armies. The Battle of Coruscant and the tragic incident that unfolded also had a ripple effect throughout the galaxy. It sparked debates about the ethics of cloning, the risks involved, and the potential for such incidents in the future. It brought into sharp focus the grim realities of war and the unpredictability of combat situations. In the vast theater of war, amidst the chaos and confusion, the Clone Wars serve as a poignant reminder of the importance of clear communication and the tragic consequences when it fails.